What's up, you beautiful Redditors? Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Welcome to the RNEWS evening show. And let's just jump into it. From r/politics. Don't cry for Kellyanne Conway. Like the whole corrupt Trump enterprise. She must pay. When this nightmare ends, some Democrats will want to move on. Forget it. Criminals like Conway must be judged. More than anything, this election is about restoring law and order. While it may be tradition to forgive lesser crimes in an effort to heal, our justice system has been so brazenly flouted by this administration that justice ought to be served. It has been tradition to forgive great crimes. 2. The forgiveness of the crimes of the Bush-Cheney era led directly to the possibility of the Trump era. We wouldn't have had the Bush-Cheney crimes if we'd prosecuted Reagan, Bush over Iran-Contra. You can probably say the same for Nixon. Way too many people from the Nixon administration got to come back. Salon, I speak for everyone when I say nobody is crying for Kellyanne. That's what I was wondering. Who the hell is crying for busted Barbie? No one is crying for the talking plague that is the Conways. Girl, bye. If the door hits her on the way out, that's just a bonus. These people will never go away. George Conway was a lawyer for Paula Jones in the case versus President Clinton. He worked with another lawyer, Ann Coulter, to persuade Paula Jones to not take a reasonable out-of-court settlement. The express purpose of that was to make sure that the case went to court, thereby ensuring maximum damage to President Clinton. That was 30 years ago. And now George is back as the cool Conway. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Boris Johnson plans to resign in 6 months because of lingering coronavirus health problems. According to Dominic Cummings' father-in-law, being Britain's Prime Minister is a lot like teaching defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts. It's like the Tories have found the monkey's paw, and each one has watched the last feckless idiot wish, I want to be the Prime Minister, and thought, maybe it'll work if I try. Lol, I love that analogy. I wish to leave the EU. Yo, my mate's dad heard down at the pub that his buddy's sister heard that Boris is going to quit in like 6 months. This is what British politics sounds like sometimes. Business Insider claims the Times interviewed a woman who claims she heard it from Dominic Cummings' father-in-law, who claims he heard it from Dominic Cummings, who claims he heard it from Boris Johnson, the literal source of the article. 11-year-old trains fox to attack old people. Could this cause cancer? Are a good excuse to cover for the fact he took the job on and it's overwhelmed him and he's realizing he's a freaking clueless plank. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/politics. Trump is everything the right says it hates about the left. Remember kids, it doesn't matter if it's the Constitution or women. It's only violation if the Democrats do it. It's called projection. Seeing something in a mirror and declaring your opponent is the one who is the evil one. Trump is everything they say they hate, but they are also liars. Trump is exactly everything they want. Trump is a white male. Puts Christians firmly above Muslims. European immigrants firmly above Latin American immigrants. Willing to ignore science. Insult the media. Endorse violence. Provide white supremacists comfort. Completely disregard deficits. Disrespect African nations. Etc. 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 You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/News. Jacob Blake's dad says son left paralyzed by police shooting. Hopefully he finds a good rehabilitation center for his spinal cord injury. I was shot and paralyzed from the chest down. C8 complete spinal cord injury. A few years ago. And Craig Hospital in Denver was indispensable in making me continue to live a full and healthy life doing things I love. It's an injury that'll likely keep me in my wheelchair for life. But I'm incredibly lucky that I'm still here to enjoy it. That sounds so horrible. I'm really glad that you're better now. I can't even imagine how hard it was for you. Yeah, it's an unimaginable tragedy. It was a gang initiation at a skate park. And I was the hapless victim. I was just happy that none of my friends were hit, since the gunman fired off all of his ammunition in our direction. Fortunately, the man and his accomplice were arrested the next day and are now in prison. So at least they can't harm anybody else for the foreseeable future. I'll most likely be paralyzed for life. But I can still drive, write, draw, go to school, and contribute to society, mainly thanks to good physical therapy after my injury. Knowing that your username is freaking hilarious. What a pun. I'm laughing so hard. His username hits all the chords. Edit person above. Especially the spinal. Friendly reminder that you can think resisting arrest is a stupid idea while still expecting cops not to try and execute someone for it. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/news. New mail sorting machine at Grand Junction USPS Annex thrown out. That mail sorter cost $1.3 million, not counting the cost of its setup and destruction. Thank you, I was looking for this information. FYI, that cost was in 1999. Inflation since then is represented by a factor of 1.56. So the adjusted replacement cost, new RCN, would be $2,028,000 in today's dollars. Could be more or less, as industry-specific indexes tend to vary. That's 6 weeks of setup, testing, and calibration. $60 $100K. Freight shipping. $5,000 first-year maintenance contract. $50,000. I have little doubt the adjusted value is hitting closer to $2.8 million. We bill $10,000 for one person per week where I worked, represent an hour hardware rides in Carrion. We sometimes have to bill governments for just sending out our salespeople to sell them stuff that. It's a really specialized field, and some nations can be fairly hostile places to visit, like the US. This alone should be enough to upset people. Zero respect for the taxpayers. Aren't Republicans all about not wasting tax money? They should be freaking livid. This sounds like some socialist central policy bogeyman type stuff. It wastes tax money and stops you from participating in the republic. Aren't Republicans all about not wasting tax money? No, they say they are, but they're liars. That motherfricka Joy just lied all day long. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Russian opposition leader Navalny was poisoned, hospital tests indicate. Press release by Charité Berlin. Since his admission at the weekend, Alexei Navalny has been receiving treatment at Charité Universitätsmedizin in Berlin. The patient is being treated in intensive care and remains in medically induced coma. While his condition is serious, it is not currently life-threatening. Following his admission, Mr. Navalny underwent extensive examination by a team of Charité physicians. Clinical findings indicate poisoning with a substance from the group of cholinesterase inhibitors. The specific substance involved remains unknown, and a further series of comprehensive testing has been initiated. The effect of the poison, namely, the inhibition of cholinesterase in the body, was confirmed by multiple tests in independent laboratories. As a result of this diagnosis, the patient is now being treated with the antidote atropine. Alexei Navalny's prognosis remains unclear. The possibility of long-term effects, particularly those affecting the nervous system, cannot be excluded. The treating physicians remain in constant contact with Mr. Navalny's wife. After close consultation with the patient's wife, Charité is reassured that the decision to make details of the patient's condition public would be in accordance with his wishes. I wonder if the negative effect on his health could be reduced if he had been taken to a German hospital sooner, and had he stayed in Russian hospital. Would he die? It's clear that they don't want to admit to poisoning, so he probably was on a wrong medication the whole time. In that case, what doctors in Russia did was an attempted murder. And that's where we're going to end today's show. But if you like what you saw, leave a like, and if you want to see more of the RNEWS show, hit that subscribe button. As always, this has been the RNEWS show, and I'll see you tomorrow.